So we can now start. Are there any apologies for absence?
Apologies.
Sorry?
We have no apologies.
Yeah, can we add Councillor Coburn? Thank you. No items of urgent business. Do any members have any interest that they wish to declare? No new interest. We may need to conduct business in private later, in which case some of the appendices, in which case we'll ask the members of the public and press to leave at that point. So if we can move to the unrestricted, item 6, I'll skip 5 because there are none. 6, unrestricted minutes of the previous meeting, set out on pages 9 to 14. I won't go through them, but are there any issues members wish to raise with them? Right, okay. I noticed on the, there are a number of items we were expecting by now on the actions list. Which,
Yes.
Okay, have we got an update on the actions list?
Yes, we do. It's attached to your briefing.
Attached to my briefing, so I've got it right. Okay. I've got to do that, have I? I've just seen the briefing. Sorry, the new one. Right. But did you want me to go? I was hoping someone was going to do us a report where the ones that are outstanding.
Okay. There's a list there.
Yeah, I can see the list. Okay, so we've got transportation contract award. I was hoping, is someone able to give us, I mean, I know we said no specific, that's item 2 on that list. I know we said no specific date.
Okay, I can change.
But if we could establish what the date will be, because we've had it a while now. Yeah, okay. 5, the ASC.
Chair, there's a couple of officers that raised their hand. I don't know whether they wanted to respond to the.
Sorry, I can't hear.
There's a couple of officers that raised their hands. I don't know whether they wanted to respond to the tracker.
Gotcha. So is that Mr. Timothy Lee got his hand up?
Hi, thank you, Councillor. Yeah, just very quickly on the send action, that action is still outstanding, but the commissioning manager is committed to providing that information before September's CPIC meeting.
Did someone get that? I didn't hear a word of it. Okay, thank you very much. Then we have the general exception, the item 4, City Hackney Hearts Visiting Services, the additional information we wanted on that. 6 says expected to be completed by September 23 now, yeah? Okay. Item 5, insurance issues. We asked for an update on that. Anyone there who knows where that is? No?
Hi, Chair.
Okay, then can we chase that, please? Right, okay, so then, right, back to...
Yeah, I think Tessa.
All right, sorry, the hand up is the...
Tessa wanted to come in on that.
Yeah, hello.
You can see, I can't, so that's not...
Apologies. Yes, we have received an update from Michael.
Tessa, thank you.
And he's going to come forward with an update in due course.
Okay, back to the agenda then. Over. Item number 8. So, we've got Larry.
Your microphone.
Nothing under item 7 then. So item, there's a change to the agenda, isn't there? We're not now having which report's been withdrawn. The high risk. Item number, so it's not in the brief, sorry, 11, it's been withdrawn and it's been taken at cabinet instead because of the issues and importance. Okay then, so if we then move to item 8, which is Community Drug and Alcohol Treatment Services contract variation, and I can ask Andrew Traffan or Simon Young to introduce the item, please. No one? Is anyone?
Yes.
Oh, right. Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, apologies. Yes, sorry, Andrew Trathman, consultant in public health for City of London and Hackney. I won't speak too long. Hopefully the report speaks for itself, but just a moment or two to set the context. In 2020, towards the end of that year, we were approached by Public Health England, named so at the time, to see if we wanted to submit an expression of interest for the rough sleepers drug and alcohol treatment grant. We said yes at the time, despite being in the middle of COVID. Originally meant to be 18 months, but that turned into a rolling year-by-year program. The following spring, we were approached again and asked if we would like to join the ADRA Accelerator program, which unlocked some resource for us and the Metropolitan Police to make sure that we're getting people into the substance use support that they need and freeing up the Met Police time to focus on serious organised crime. We've been seeing some fantastic results from that, and that's been going for around 2 years now. In fact, the ADRA Accelerator program has just concluded, and that funding stream is now turning into the Supplementary Substance Misuse Treatment Recovery Grant, and that is where the majority of the money in this paper currently sits. I think it's the experience has been a good reminder of the fact that funding is not the only bottleneck for producing really high class services. After 10 years of reduced funding, systems get taken apart, expertise gets lost, and it's been very impressive to see our the Turning Point, our frontline providers and our commissioners rebuild what we used to have and get us move us forward. I think the paper that we've got in front of us mainly reflects the issues that we've had in getting the money spent. We are often getting these funds are confirmed very late and only for 1 year at a time. So to make sure we've got the right process in place, we've worked extensively with procurement, legal, and finance. I would just say the landscape has changed immensely over the last 2.5 years. We couldn't have known when we commissioned the contract initially that Dame Carol Black would release her 2-part report, which would be responded to by the government with their national 10-year strategy, which we're now being held to account on. And that's what really these monies are designed for. But we've been making fantastic progress. We have a plan in place to deliver on that strategy, make sure we're meeting the needs of our residents. And that's been approved locally by our Combating Drugs Partnership, as well as the OHID national team. So we are ready to move on this. Very happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Marla, any questions or comments to this report? Councillor Woodley first, and then Councillor Kennedy.
I did wonder if the increase is a significant increase was based on good practice and sitting in Hackney elsewhere. I'm not familiar with the content of the Black Review, so I'm wondering if it was flagged, and if not, whether good practice was flagged elsewhere and whether we feel comfortable we can, reach that bar. And other queries were around the KPIs, which I see that you've now submitted as supplementary, which is really quite detailed. So thank you very much for that. I nonetheless wonder if your feeling is that the targets set by central government are realistic, and the pressure, I guess, that comes with that. As I say, you've given us the detail, but I just appreciate your sort of candid take. And we've sort of noted the size of the contingency around the potential of underspend, and whether there's any risk of clawback on that underspend, or whether it might impact on future year grant giving. So you're obviously quite reliant now on that grant giving to continue over the next couple of years. You seem quite confident that it will come in. So that's sort of, as classic councillor 3 in 1, sorry.
Do you want to respond to that, and then we'll take Councillor Kennedy afterwards?
Thank you, Councillor. With regards to the first point, because we were in effect a trailblazer area for the National Drug Strategy, we implemented an awful lot of the ideas that have been adopted by the 10-year drug strategy and by other local authorities. So trying to have better relationships with local enforcement, move towards more of a public health model of working with individuals who are using substances. As Andrew, I think, really ably demonstrated, we've had great success over the added delivery. So we've seen increases in numbers of treatment. We've seen increases in the number of people who are leaving treatment for a positive reason. And again, all of that has been reflected back to us by OHID and has been spoken about as best practice to other authority areas. The increase in funding for this year, so the 1.49 mil, which is about £500,000 more than we got for ADA year on year. Realistically, it's been to do with helping ensure that we're paying better wages for people who are in our services. We've had an awful lot of problems with retention of staff over the past couple of years because the wages have been quite low. So you'll see in the paper a significant portion of the funding that we're getting is actually being put forward to make sure that people are being paid an increased wage. In terms of increased funding for next year, it's because the targets increase next year. There will be more metrics that we have to report on top of the ones that we have to report on this year, as well as an overall need to increase the outcomes that we get. I think the outcomes possibly are manageable. Certainly we made our targets with ADA. Certainly we appear to be making our targets, particularly around numbers in treatment and positive engagement and individuals using opiates on top of opiate maintenance therapy. So I think that's possible. With regard to contingency, so we built contingency in locally more to do with the fact that we haven't got the confirmed envelope for next year. We just have the indicative costs. We're not sure what our combating drug partnership and our multi-agency work will steer us towards in terms of further system developments for next year. It's possible turning point further to create more routes into treatment for individuals, but it's also possible that we can invest in some other community organisations as well. At this junction, we just don't know. So we've built it in to make sure we don't have to come back next year and say, please, can we spend more money on this contract?
Thank you. Councillor Woodley.
I'm cheekily going to pretend it's a supplementary, but it's actually a question I forgot to ask, which was around apprenticeships and whether, given that we've had this kind of difficulty with recruitment, that's being kind of addressed with increase in pay, but 3 apprenticeships seem quite a low number if we want to kind of really shore up and build up that recruitment.
Yes, we'd agree. So we've actually Turning Point have just undertaken a restructure to try and look more at how they can create a pipeline of employment through their service. A big portion of that is going to be looking at how we can get more from service users and people who are exiting the service for positive reasons. We've had great success with peer supporters and peer apprentices so far, so we're going to look to expand that over the next couple of years. But yes, I agree.
Okay, Councillor Woodley. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank officers, particularly Simon, for all their hard work on this. Point out that we should not overlook the fact that we have seen a significant reduction in drug-related deaths in this borough during the course of this work. So this funding is being used in a way which is saving and changing people's lives. And I'm very, very pleased that we're spending it correctly in that way. And outside, we've just Turning Point have just been CQC'd, and they were CQC'd as good, having previously been requires improvement. So the structure and the way in which they work has had outside confirmation of what we've seen through the results, that they are working in a much better and more productive manner. I only had one tiny question, because obviously as cabinet member, I'm actually meant to know all about this, but I don't understand why the contingency is only set against one of the programmes at the bottom and not against them both. That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So the SSMTR looks to double in cost, double in award next year, and it will give us significantly more funding. We don't know whether the RSD-ATG, so the rough sleeping drug and alcohol treatment grant, is going to increase or not. So we've placed the contingency within the SSMTR framework. But of course, if it looks like funding is going to arise from the RSD-ATG, that would be incorporated into that. Again, I think reflecting on the answer I made earlier, we would like to look at where we can invest in other community organisations that can help with our treatment system overall. So it's unlikely we're going to use all of that contingency with Turning Point, but it is there to make sure that we can fund any more interventions that we need to fund with the increasing costs, but also any underspend that needs to be reprofiled throughout the year, particularly on things like inpatient detox and rehab. We're able to put that towards Turning Point without having to worry about coming back to yourselves.
Okay, thank you. Do we expect to come back to this under the confidential part, or can we move to the recommendations that's set out in number 3, recommendation 3, which is to extend agree a contract variation to extend the service in the way described in the report? Happy to agree that? Agreed. Thank you very much, the officers, for all your work on this. Move to item 9, Lime Tree Court in St Peter's House. And that is going to be presented by Leslie Hill, I believe, who's online.
Hello, everybody. Yes, thank you very much. We're here this evening to present our contract award recommendation. We have been through a very robust procurement process to appoint the care and support provider for 2 of our housing with care services, which are Lime Trees and St Peter's. We are recommending a 2-year plus 1 year plus 1 year with the ambition of moving this to provider services going forward. That's why we have asked for the flexibility of the extra 2 years, but our ambition is by the end of 2 years that we will be able to move this over, and we're in discussion with Terry Ann, the new manager, head of service for provider services, to do that. So that's our recommendation, to appoint provider A and start the mobilisation of the service. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments on this report? Councillor Kennedy?
Just a couple of comments that I wanted to highlight for anyone watching and colleagues, that to show how important this contract is in terms of the service it provides. It's 80% quality and only 20% price. That is quite rare for contracts that we see here, and shows what care we wanted to provide for the residents at Lime Tree and St Peter's, and quite rightly so, as we plan to move it over to a provided service and bring it in-house. And also, unfortunately, quite rare for papers that come before us, Chair. Really good to see 5 bidders going all the way through and bidding against each other. And somehow we want to try and see on more of the contracts that come before us as a committee, that number of bidders going all the way through to the final round. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. I would echo that. Any other questions on the report? Can I just make the observation? We've seen this report before at business case stage as well.
Yes.
And we understand why we're not pursuing the insourcing option at this stage. But I think we're quite keen that it shouldn't be ruled out in the future.
Absolutely not.
I don't know if you've got any comments to that. We're mindful to ask that you actually come back to us in, before it's a decision is made to extend it. We're not. You were giving you approval if we agree this tonight, but just so to have an update on that at that stage. But I don't know if you have anything to say about that now. Would be helpful.
Just to say that I meet monthly with our new provider services manager. We're both very keen to ensure that we are in a position to insource this for more than one reason. But that really is a very strong ambition to do so. And yes, I would like to think that in certainly no more than 18 months' time, we're able to come back and say that we're now in a position to do this. As you know yourself, sort of the CQC, we've got a lot of change of staff, etc., going on at the moment. So unfortunately, it wasn't the time at this moment in time. Can I also just say that, just in response to Councillor Kennedy, we even had service users and family members on the evaluation panel as well. So once again, that commitment to our service users, and that's why quality was so high on the ratio.
That's really reassuring. So if we can move to the recommendation, item 3, to accept all this contract is set out. Unless I'm assuming there are sorry, I should ask, do we need to come back to this as a confidential item? Do members wish to do that, or? No, okay. So if you can move to recommendation at item 3 to award the contract as set out in the report. Yes, agree with that. And can we note that we've asked for an update on the insourcing position in 18 months or so's time. And we pick that date because it's obviously before the next extension point. But, okay, I will leave that fairly loose how we do that, whether it's, but let's ask for an update to this committee, which we can then waive if it's straightforward. Is that all right, Ms. Hill?
Fine with me, thank you very much, no problem.
Okay, and thank you for all your work on this report and this important service. Thank you.
Can I just mention my 2 colleagues who've also been very heavily involved and are on the meeting as well? I don't want to take all of their glory. Thank you very much, Councillor Chapman.
You're very welcome. Thank you, and we note that. Okay, then if we can move on to item 10, Social Care Transformation Implementation Project, and I think Jenny Murphy is going to introduce this. It's perfect.
Thank you, Chair. So members may recall that I came to CPIC back in April to request permission to go out to tender for a delivery partner to support staff in adult social care to identify ways to both improve outcomes and deliver savings for the council. The process as set out in that April report was followed and is now concluded, and we're recommending contract award to provider A as detailed in the exempt appendix. The provider demonstrated their ability to deliver our requirements. They received a high quality score from the evaluation team, which included officers from adult social care, transformation and finance. They came in within budget and were also offering added value in a number of areas. As detailed in the previous report, the programme of work is expected to improve outcomes for a potential 4,000 Hackney residents and also accumulate savings of up to 32 million over the next 5 to 6 years, primarily through cost avoidance. The provider demonstrated that they're able to and have a track record of delivering these types of programmes on a risk-reward basis in other councils. And that will ensure that payments to the provider are released as and when KPIs are considered to be on track. Their responses on social value were strong. They gave a number of practical examples in each of the areas, which are detailed in section 8 of the report. So we're now requesting permission to award the contract. If agreed tonight, we can then move on to the design phase with the provider to begin setting baselines and implementing them. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. We've had some discussion of this item before, we can put it mildly, but I'm grateful for any questions or comments from members. No. The only question I had was about the additional resources that might needed to be put into this project by the council. What will it? I mean, it sets out in the report what we are expecting in terms of the external support, but what internal work will be required, and what resources will that be? Will that be a drone?
Yeah, we did make it very clear in the tender documents that there will be no additional council resource to deliver this, so the delivery partner is expected to work closely with us in terms of their time. It will really be officer time, Councillor Chapman. That will be the resource that's needed from us, so that the representatives across adult social care, finance and other parts of the council, officer time, everybody is aware of this and is expecting it. The transformation team will be really crucial to overseeing this work. They're geared up and ready to, and looking forward to starting really with it. So that's the short answer.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments from members? Can we then move to the recommendation? Yep. Or unless there's any desire to go to the. Yeah. Okay then. To award the contract set out in 3.1 in the report. Thank you very much. Thank you, and thanks again to the officers. I know again there's a lot of work been put behind this, and it's again a very important project. Okay, item 11 has been withdrawn, so it brings item 12, dates of future meeting, and the next meeting scheduled for the 4th of September. So if I could just have we got in? Let's just we haven't got any 7 minutes, have we?
No.
No. So. If I just thank everyone for their attendance and look forward to seeing you all again in September. Thanks to the officers as well.